Shall I start, Mike? Okay. Aloha. So you get to witness a little bit of ad lib presentation because John and I are going to co present. We sort of worked out how we're going to do this, but we'll see how it goes. So, my name is Rich Matsuda. I'm the interim director of Keck Observatory. Hilton Lewis, after a 37-year career, basically his entire career serving the observatory, moved on to greener pastures in May, and I've been serving as the interim since then. The board has put together a search committee, conducting a search. I think it's going well, good candidates, so hopefully we will know who the next director of Keck will be fairly soon. A little bit about me. I was born and raised in Hawaii. This is my second Keck Science Meeting. The last one was definitely over 10 years ago at Caltech. And my role has been in engineering operations, technical management, and over the last several years working with the issues around Mauna Kea and the community. So one of the things we're trying to do at the observatory is to introduce and respectfully and authentically observe Hawaiian culture. And we're lucky to have people on staff who have some expertise in this, including Shelley Pelfrey, who's our head of administrative services. And we did a thing last night at the 30th celebration, and we're going to actually do that today. So in Hawaii, when you go to, Hawaiians' relationship with aina or place is really important. It's a stewardship responsibility. And so when you go from your place on the island to a different place on the island, before you enter, you ask for permission. And so we'd like to do this for you. It's sort of like, hey, I'm here. Is it okay if I enter? And so the first part of this chant refers to travels by Hiaka, a sister of Pele, going from the Big Island to Kauai, and it's a chant that's performed now to enter into different spaces. Shelley's gonna perform the Mele Kahea, which is asking permission to enter, and then she's also gonna perform the Mele Komo, which is the response. So she's playing both sides, because she's the only one who knows how to do this. I used to know how to do the Mele Kahea, but I need practice, so I'm not gonna try it. And then we'll go into our talk. So, Shelley. So, asking permission is not enough. You need to be granted permission to enter. So, Shelley's gonna perform that part now. Thank you so much, Shelley. I really appreciate that. So I also wanted to, several people have asked and wanted to acknowledge the disaster that happened in Maui. I know it's been on people's minds. All of Hawaii is grieving about the loss of life and property. It's been the worst loss of life due to a wildfire in the US in over 100 years. Like I said, all of Hawaii is grieving, and I know that many people are just trying to figure out how can we help. So I just wanted to put a QR code up here. One of the ways that we can help is by donating. So Maui is going to need years and years and years of support to rebuild and to be rebuilt in the right way. So I know that we at Keck have been engaging in efforts to support the folks on Maui. We're all one big family in Hawaii. So just wanted to mention that. So this year marks the 30th year anniversary of science at Keck, as you all know, and it's been great to be here. And last night we celebrated by having a gathering. I see a lot of people here who were there last night, and Andrea gave a wonderful talk about the Galactic Center Group's work. And what was really special to me was a video that she showed interviewing team members and associated folks. And it really captured for me the inspiration of the science and the tenacity of the team and the perseverance of the team. And it was really great. We also had a reception afterwards, and it was great to see everyone connecting, longtime users and new users. And I would characterize the spirit of the evening as one of gratitude and connection. And one of the special guests, I was happy to see Alex mention Jerry Nelson, because Jerry's son and daughter and their family were here, and it was really heartwarming to see them here celebrating 30 years of science based on Jerry's amazing contribution. I'm going to hand over to John, who's going to talk about how we got here to 30 years.
So one of the things I tried to do in my rambles last night was to ask the question, what is special about Keck Science? And last night I primarily focused on the deep sense of ownership that every astronomer who observes with Keck has with the observatory. But if I broaden things out and can use this thing correctly, what does it actually take to do all that? The first thing it takes is a partnership across academic institutions, the founding partners, up on the top, NASA coming in 96. And then it takes our federal partners, National Science Foundation. It takes our foundation partners, many who are shown here on this slide. And then there are a number of folks, smaller partners, who have brought so much critical science to the table as well. And so this is what it takes, is all these people from these institutions. But Rich just mentioned Jerry Nelson and Jerry's family, and Matt Radovan, who couldn't be here today, told me a great story about Jerry, which he referred to as Jelly Nelson, because apparently Matt's youngest son could not do R's correctly when Jerry would visit. So a story about Jelly Nelson, who was asked by Matt, hey, what makes Keck so awesome, right? What makes it so awesome? And this was a wonderful opportunity for Jerry to say, the telescope, right? The thing that it created, and that wasn't his answer. His answer was, what makes Keck great is the right PI building the right instrument, right? So that's what makes Keck great, right? This is Rich at the UC Labs looking at some nascent instrument technology going on. So the instrument capacity, the adaptive optics capacity, our network of people who build these wonderful machines that work on Jelly's great machine is what it takes. And it also takes all of you all, right? This is what I was speaking to last night. This was from a previous Keck Science meeting. I've only been to 12. Shame on you, Rich, for only a 2, right? And so it takes every single one of these folks here. And one thing that's really important to acknowledge is the staff. I think any of you who have observed at Keck have gotten to know and love so many of our staff who are absolutely essential in every possible way. Most of the time, folks interact with the staff astronomers, the observing assistants, the night assistants. But there are 140 people here who make Jelly's instrument move, right? And it takes all 140 of them. And of course, it takes Mauna Kea. And Rich spoke to that last night, right? That we're our immense privilege to observe there. And that's what it takes to pull this off for 3 decades. And what do we get out of it? Now, this is the Keck Science Meeting. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the science. That's what you all are going to do. But, we've made some progress in astronomy over the last 30 years, right? Alex gave a wonderful talk about dark energy, but the impact of Keck on cosmology is in every single aspect of that pie diagram. Back in the late 90s, we didn't actually know that the universe was 5% baryons, right? That's what Keck did by measuring deuterium. In the early days, the CMB measurements disagreed on what the baryon density was. But the deuterium measurements done by David Teitler and his group, shameless promotion alert, I was part of that group, figured out that what the baryon density was. And then later, Chuck Steidel is going to talk about the high redshift universe, right? In the inception of Keck, it was thought that finding galaxies beyond redshift 3-ish would be a silly venture and nobody would ever do it, right? Alex mentioned high spin rad earlier. I can remember high spin rad in the airport in Kona, getting really giddy and saying, I've got something. And I'm like, well, what is it? 5. And it was redshift 5, right? And this was unconscionable at the time to have galaxies that distant. And now we're following up JWST galaxies at redshifts beyond 10, which is just stunning, right? So the impact on cosmology is immense. There's the minor issue of practically creating comparative exoplanetology as a field, which is what Keck has done, right? The radial velocity work in the early days, direct imaging, we've got Bruce here, he knows about it a lot, right? Direct imaging, transits, every aspect of understanding exoplanets has either been pioneered or perfected at Keck and continues to go on. We've got Lauren and others talking about large samples now of exoplanets. We're not just finding them, we're really understanding the diversity of them. And then the solar system, right? There's this beautiful press release that just came out about 30 years of observations of Neptune and the correlation between the storms in Neptune's atmosphere and the solar cycle. And it was a couple of years with that other telescope, Hubble. Yeah, it's kind of neat. But over 20 years of monitoring of Neptune, which is stunning to me, right? And that's only possible because of adaptive optics and because we can set up systems to do this. So pretty much every aspect of astronomy has been touched by this world. So.
Thanks. So John mentioned we couldn't do this without Mauna Kea. And I want to talk a little bit about that and also our efforts in the community and work on the Mauna Kea situation. I was catching up with Ann Bosgaard last night, and Mauna Kea is an unrivaled site for doing observation of the universe. And I want to give credit to University of Hawaii for recognizing this in the 60s and creating the science reserve with the state of Hawaii. And were it not for the visionaries at the University of Hawaii, Keck wouldn't be on the summit of Mauna Kea, and neither would the other telescopes. So it was great talking with you last night. And as you know, the importance of Mauna Kea extends beyond astronomy, of course. It's a place of great cultural importance, ecological importance, spiritual importance, especially to Native Hawaiians. And I think we must remember, as I said last night, that as we look up into the universe, that we remember where our feet are planted in Hawaii and on Mauna Kea, and that we are aware of our impact to the place and the people of that place, and that we tread lightly. So that's just a reminder to all of us. I also want to give an update on what's been happening in Mauna Kea, and I want to take us back, warn you that I'm going to take us back to 2019. So here's a picture of the time when there were hundreds and sometimes thousands of people camped out on the road on the Mauna Kea at the base of the Mauna Kea access road, and when 38 elders or kupuna were arrested for making a stand against the construction of Mauna Kea. At this time, and before, from starting at around 2014, a deep wedge occurred in the community, and people in families like my own and others had people on both sides of the issue. It was a time of division, a painful time. I know that personally, and I know a lot of people at Keck felt stuck. The staff had to drive through this every day, and for someone who grew up in Hawaii, I could feel definitely both sides of the issue. Since then, So what's happened since this time the picture was taken? So the state legislature made a decision to evaluate the management of Mauna Kea and then to institute a change in management. And I think what the state had found was that the University of Hawaii had done a good job of implementing the management plan, but the structure that was in place uh, sort of had issues with in terms of consultation with Native Hawaiians. Not due to the fault of the good intentions of the people at the university, but who were, who had the responsibility of management, but a little more to do with the system. And so this new model called the Mauna Kea Stewardship and Oversight Authority was created, and for the first time explicitly includes Native Hawaiians in decision-making roles about how Mauna Kea is managed. It's based on the idea of mutual stewardship, which is that there are many different perspectives that hold Mauna Kea as being important. You put the Mauna in the middle and work together to steward it into the future. The membership of the authority is made up of 11, 11 voting members, all of whom are kama'aina, meaning born and raised in Hawaii, 8 of whom are Native Hawaiian. I am the representative of Mauna Kea Astronomy on that group. We have 5 years to transition the management from the university to this new authority. It's a huge challenge. At the same time, the Astro 2020 recommendations on the state of the profession and societal impacts came out, and it talked about the core principles of listen and empower, aim to do good for all, invest in the future together. And those are elements that can be found in this new stewardship authority. And I wanted to show you a contrast of 2019 to 2023. So this is a picture of the AAS in Seattle where there was an invited plenary talk of 3 members of the authority. So left to right, it's at the panel there is myself, Antinoinoi Wong Wilson, who was one of the 38 kupuna arrested, and John Komeiji, who is the chair of the new authority. And to me, this is a significant photo because Auntie has the mic there and she's talking about how, explaining how we got to the point where there were thousands of people on the road and how she felt that Native Hawaiians' voices were spoken but not heard through the process, and that she was expressing great hope for the future of working together with Native Hawaiian voices at the table. So to me, this represents hope for the future when you compare it to the other photo I showed. So, I believe that we're at an inflection point for astronomy in Hawaii. I think that the change that we're facing is, of course, has uncertainty involved with it, but I think it's the right way. I think about the grad students that are here. I think about the future astronomers, and I think that we're headed in a good direction. We need to support this and make it work. So what we've learned is through this painful process has informed our new strategic plan. That QR code takes you to our website where you can read our Keck 2035 strategic plan. And you see, of course, that science is the core of the strategic plan. That's our mission. But to support the science, we have to have a healthy organization and we have to have good Hawaii community relations. And I want to talk a little bit about the part that I've been involved in the most, which is the Hawaii community relations, and tell you about the philosophy that underpins it, not about the details, but the philosophy. So I want to introduce a word, upena. Ka upena is the net, so fishing net. I don't know if you've ever seen the fishermen in Hawaii who have the throw net and they go on the shore and they throw the net out and it captures a fish. And I was talking to a kupuna who told me that one of the ways that I should envision the community is as a fishing net. And the metaphor goes like this. So, the net provides food for the family, and in this net of the community, the knots represent our relationships. And so if you have a net that is in disrepair, the knots have come loose, or you have holes in the net called puka, that the net is not going to work. And so when you think about community, think about building a big net, strengthening the knots, fixing the puka, and it will provide. And so our approach with the community is really around relationships, fixing the knots that have come loose, and creating knots where we're missing knots. So that's really informing our community approach. And I'm going to hand over it. So there's the 3 parts, right? And the science part is also really important because it's the underpinning of what we do as our mission. I just wanted to share that about the community approach, John.
And there's going to be a separate talk tomorrow going through all the elements of the science strategic plan, because I'm sure you're all interested. I did want to give a shout out to Megan, who took the strategic plan and made it look awesome for the web version. So thank you. Thank you, Megan. So traditionally in these talks, we also try to tell you something about what's happened at the observatory in the last year and you might be interested in. We're not going to do as deep a dive as we usually do, but there are lots of Keck staff here who can answer the questions much better than I can. So if you're a Keck staff member, just raise your hand real quick so that people know who to find you, where to ask questions. So what have we been up to? It's been an absolutely transformative year for new capabilities at Keck. Andrew is going to be talking a lot about this, which is the Keck Planet Finder. This is the first light image of this. The keen eye will probably go through the same sense of panic that I did in your first light image when you see a couple of things lined up and then one of them is not, and you ask, did we break it on the first day? And Andrew can speak to this in much better detail, but the answer is we did not break KPF on the first day. What we happened to do is prove that Jupiter rotates. I got the mic, right? But this was a massive labor of love bringing it to the observatory, both in terms of getting the full funding of it, the development of it. Andrew should speak to all the technical marvels that are involved. This is the most geographically distributed instrument at the observatory. The fiber injection unit lives on the AO bench, which then runs down to the basement, and there are calibration units completely separate from the spectrograph. The spectrograph is made out of zero dur and then shoved in a vacuum chamber, shoved in the basement, right? And to get all that in place, not just to build it, but to get it all in place took a huge effort at the observatory. I want to give big shout out to all the crew at the summit and at headquarters who made that possible. They had to remove all the interferometer stuff that was in the basement to make way for KPF. So KPF is on. It's working fantastically. I'll let Andrew brag about it later, but it's really, really exciting to have that capability here. Completely going to transform radial velocity studies at Keck. And then, if one flagship instrument wasn't enough, we already heard a little bit from Nick, and Rosalie has a poster on this. This is the crew who were responsible for making me have 2 heart attacks, right? 2.5. And why do I say this? Because KCWI is now my favorite instrument. Don't tell Hi-Res. It's my favorite instrument. And to watch your favorite instrument get craned off of the deck, suspended over the thing, lowered down to the floor, pushed down the hallway, because the place where we were going to work on it was not the place where it lives, so we pushed it from Keck 2 to Keck 1, craned once, craned twice into the clean room. And I'm sitting there just watching the cameras, just going, please don't drop it, please don't drop it. And of course they weren't going to drop it. This was an amazing crew who executed this extremely complicated set of things so that KCWI could be put in the clean room, KCRM could be installed, and then they had to do it all again in reverse to give me that second and a half heart attack. The instrument is in the final stages of commissioning, as Nick was saying, but it's working wonderfully. I'm super, super excited about what it's going to bring to so many different studies of the universe at multiple redshifts. And so watch this space because it's really going to be exciting. And If that's not all, we had one more capability delivered fairly recently and is still in commissioning, which is a new laser frequency comb in the infrared to feed near spec and eventually high spec, right? So normally we accept one thing-ish, maybe every 1 or 2 years. We did 3 things in 1 year, and that's crazy. So big shout out to everybody involved. You know, getting the basement ready to receive this stuff was a huge effort. And then integrating it into the whole system requires a lot of work by a lot of people. So I want to mahalo them. Now, lots of other things have been happening at the observatory. These are the new capabilities that have arrived. There are other capabilities which are en route, right? Andy's building scales. Dimitri and lots of folks at UC and Caltech are building high spec, right? Kappa is coming online next year. There was the Keck Science Meeting yesterday, right? And significant progress on Kappa and other aspects of the adaptive optics system. And then all of the things associated with that. Again, preparing an observatory to receive something. All the software involved, all the things behind the scenes is a massive, massive effort. And all of that's been going on. And so there's real amazing transformation of our capabilities coming over the next couple of years. In addition, there's a lot of work going on in the software side. The Data Services Initiative is moving forward. We're now lifetime ingesting data from the telescope into the Keck Observatory Archive. Oh, look, here's happened to be a Keck Observatory Archive slide. Thank you, Don, for this. Right, there's been a huge collaboration between the observatory and the folks at NextSci, IPAC to make this work. We're now doing, you can basically do Netflix for your data because you can push a button and it sits there and streams directly to your disk. And then for the instruments that we have the data reduction pipelines for, it reduces it right after it hits the disk and then pushes the reduced data to the disk. When you watch this happen for KCWI over the course of just a couple minutes, it's really fantastic. You go from raw data to cubes streamed to your disk within 2 minutes. And it's really, really exciting. And we're bringing that capability, those DRPs, online for a number of instruments. I think we're up to 4 now, and we should be adding a couple more over the coming years. So I want to give a shout out both to the folks on the COA side and on the Keck side who are making this integration happen, because our data system was not designed to do this. And so we're having to undo and redo many aspects of this to get there. And some other updates here, just in terms of the stuff coming to COA, right? KCRM is now going to be coming to COA. There's been a really neat upgrade to NERC 2, which I neglected in my instrument update, which is the electronics rack, which used to be, you know, a refrigerator-sized thing full of transputers, which I didn't even know was a word until I came to Keck, has now been replaced, I think, with a box about that big, right? And it's allowing a significant speed up in the read time of NERC 2, right? You're going to get an efficiency gain of approximately 3, not 30%, but 3, right? It's going so fast in terms of writing the data, so it's really exciting for that. And many, many other things. Just find us, find Mark, find Rosalie, find Carolyn, find Jim. Any of these folks will tell you about the really exciting things coming online over the next 1 or 2 years. But it has been an immense year of work and immense a series of successes for the observatory, and I really just want to credit the whole observatory staff. None of those things happen unless we have 140 people working with us. So, Rich.
Okay, so taking us back to the Upena theme. Thanks, John. So I think that the idea of the Upena doesn't only apply in Hawaii, but it applies to this astronomical community. When I got named as the interim director, one of the first people I talked to was Mark Cassis. If you know me, you know that I like drawing things on my whiteboard. In fact, my wall is painted with whiteboard paint, and I have like 20 different colors. So Mark came over with some of his homemade homebrew, and I was like, hey, Mark, I've been mostly working on Mauna Kea stuff. I've lost touch with what's happening with all the technical collaborations. Can you sketch out for me what's happening? So he started drawing the different locations, different institutions that are involved in instrument development and AO development. and who the partners are and different colors and where the funding's coming from. And pretty soon my wall looked way more complicated than this upena, which tells me that the astronomical community is a upena. It's relationships across institutions, across different people, funders, et cetera, and that this upena is something that we need to tend as well in our community. And so I just wanted to thank all of you for your involvement, whether it's on the SSC or different advisory committees or review committees. That's so important. Coming to the observatory and interacting with our team there is so important. And thank you for doing that, and encourage you to continue doing that. I think the involvement of the funders in the different projects and with the observatory is so important. So I just want to acknowledge that and appreciate that. And I think there's an opportunity to combine these two upenas and make a big upena. So we look forward to opportunities to have you in Hawaii, for you to meet community members, to participate in things that we're doing with the community. And I think that's the way of the future for us. And just really think it's such an honor and a pleasure to be part of both upenas. And it's going to be one upena. And I just want to end, and we have time, John, so feel free to jump in on this. But oh, okay, never mind. I thought we're doing pretty good. The thing is still green. Okay. Well, this is my last statement. I was going to say, John, we did it. This is amazing. But just wanted to talk about the vision of the future for the grad students in here and the future astronomers. That the future of astronomy to me is bright on Mauna Kea, even though the situation around the past few years has made us feel less certain about that. I think by making these efforts to connect with the community and to work towards mutual understanding, mutual respect, integrating, using this upena philosophy into the local community, I think it presents a great opportunity for a bright future for the way we do science in Hawaii on Mauna Kea, and maybe the way we do science all over the world. And I think it's a change that is needed, and I think it's special time for astronomy right now, and just really happy to be working on it.
I don't think I could add anything to that. That's a wonderful way to close. So I think we're done. We have time for questions.